Hey guys, it's Blue Eyes Master 91, and today I thought I would do a deck profile for my virus deck, so let's dive on into it. So this deck is more along the lines of the Lair of Darkness build with a bunch of the virus cards that Kyla used in the original series. So the first card in the deck is one of the two big boss monsters for the main deck, which is Darkest Diablos, Lord of the Lair. Your opponent cannot tribute this face-up card in the field and cannot target it with card effects. You can only use each of the following effects of Darkest Diablos once per turn. If a dark monster you control is tributed, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your graveyard if it was there when you tributed, or hand, even if not. You can tribute one dark monster. Your opponent places one card from their hand on either the top or the bottom of the deck. He is a free special summon, and in this deck you can shoot him out very, very easily. His second effect is also pretty useful just because it helps you to force your opponent to stack their deck, so to speak, so you can just recycle that second effect and basically put them in a loop. Next we have Arim, the Wicked Warden. Sorry if I mispronounced that. You can discard this card, add one Lair of Darkness from your deck to your hand. You can tribute one dark monster, draw one card. Or if you tributed a dark monster other than this card to activate this effect, you can add one dark monster with 2,000 or more defense from your deck to your hand instead. You can only use each of the following effects of this card once per turn. So he's a searcher on two different levels. You can either search out, you can either draw a card, which is great, or if you tributed something else, you can search out Darkest Diablos, which has 2,000 defense, so he qualifies. Or as you'll see later, we do have a copy of Raviel that you could search out as well, since this deck is all Fiend. So next we have 3 copies of Lilith, Lady of Lament. If this card is normal summon, its original attack becomes 1,000. Quick effect, you can tribute one dark monster, reveal 3 normal traps from your deck. Your opponent randomly chooses one for you to set on your field and shuffle the rest back into the deck. So she is the main way to search out your virus cards, and we are running all of them. Basically what I like to do is, depending on the situation, I'll grab a playset of the same virus, or I'll mix it up and choose 3 different ones. But she's really useful because she lets you search those out so easily. Next we have Malice, Lady of Lament. Quick effect, you can tribute 2 monsters, then target one of your normal traps that is banished or in your graveyard, set that target, but place it on the bottom of the deck when it leaves the field. So she allows you to recycle your trap cards that you use, so all the virus cards get basically recycled as you use them, or if they're banished, which is really, really nice. And then we have the newest monster into this deck, Alice, Lady of Lament. So she has 0 attack and 2,000 defense. When this card is normal summoned, you can target one Lady of Lament monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can only use each of the following effects of Alice once per turn. You can banish one trap from your hand or graveyard, special summon this card. This card is tributed, or if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can add one Fiend monster whose combined attack and defense equal 2,000 to your hand. You cannot target her. So she is a really, really good 2-of in this deck. I just currently don't have a second copy. I definitely really like her. She's a fantastic addition to this deck, and I feel like she's going to help it run a lot smoother. Then we have 3 copies of Witch to help search out all the ladies in this deck, as well as your warden. We also have 2 tour guide, which can be searched with Witch, and she allows you to special summon a level 3 fiend from your deck. And it negates the effect. You can summon out Lilith and not worry about the effect. Then we do have a single copy of Sangin, which you can use to search out most of this deck as well. I think Warden's the only thing you wouldn't be able to search. You wouldn't be able to search out Lilith either. But you have Malice, Alice, Witch, and your tour guide you can search with him. And then we have a single copy of Raviel, like I showed you earlier, which is just, he's an easy summon in this deck. He really is. And he's something that gives this deck just a little bit more consistency, in my opinion. So with all the monsters taken care of, let's dive into our spells. We do run 3 copies of Lair of Darkness. For those who don't know its effect, I'll read it real fast. All face-up monsters on the field become dark. Once per turn, if you would tribute a monster you control to activate a card effect, you can tribute 1 dark monster your opponent controls, even though you do not control it. Once per turn during the end phase, special summon as many torment tokens, Fiend Dark level 3, attack 1,000, defense 1,000 as possible, to the turn player's field in defense position up to the number of monsters tributed this turn while this card was on the field. So this is a really, really great field spell because it allows you to utilize your opponent's monsters to summon stuff out. And those the tokens are great to go into Raviel. Then we have a single copy of Super Poly for just the fact that it's Super Poly and this deck is all dark. We do have a single copy of Terraforming to search up the field spell if you don't have a Warden in your hand. We have a copy of Fang of Critias. And then 3 copies of Lair of Darkness. With Fang of Critias, he's useful in this deck because you do run 3 copies of the Crush Card Virus. And that allows you to go into Crush Card, the Doom Virus Dragon. I'll pull that out real fast. Yeah. He's one of the 3 fusions in this deck. So, getting into the traps, we have a lot of them here. We have 3 copies of Grinning Grave Virus. Tribute 1 dark monster with 3,000 or less attack. Your opponent destroys 1 card of their choice in their hand or deck for every 500 attack that monster had on the field. If you tributed a monster with 2,000 attack or more to activate this card, look at all cards your opponent draws until the end of their 3rd turn after this card's activation, and destroy all monsters among them. Cards destroyed and sent to the graveyard by this card effect cannot activate their own effects that same turn. So this card kind of shuts down a lot of cards in the meta right now, in the sense that most decks want stuff in the grave. So if you were to use Diablos, let's say, you now have free reign over every card your opponent draws for the next 3 turns, and any monsters they may draw go right to the graveyard, and they don't get their effect. So that's extremely useful. We do have 3 copies of the original Crush card. Tribute 1 dark monster with 1,000 or less attack. There's plenty of them in this deck. Your opponent takes no damage until the end of the next turn after this card resolves. Also, you look at your opponent's hand and all monsters they control, and if you do, destroy the monsters among them with 1,500 attack or more. Then your opponent can destroy up to 3 monsters with 1,500 attack or more within their deck. So this allows you to board wipe as well as forces your opponent to destroy 3 cards in their deck. or 3 monsters specifically. We have 3 copies of Full Force Virus. Tribute 1 dark monster with 2,000 or more defense. Look at your opponent's hand at all monsters they control and all cards they draw until the end of their 3rd turn after this card's activation. Destroy all those monsters with 1,500 or less defense. So, while Crush card attacks monsters with 1,500 attack or more, Full Force destroys all monsters with less than 1,500 defense, which is another very, very good trap, especially when used in combination with each other, which again is very, very easy to do in this deck. So you can make it so your opponent can't use anything that they have in the field, and being able to destroy monsters with 1,500 or less for 3 turns is very, very, very useful. We have 3 copies of Eradicator Epidemic Virus. Tribute 1 dark monster with 2,500 attack or more, and declare 1 type of card, spell or trap. Look at your opponent's hand and all spell and trap cards they control, and all cards they draw until the end of their 3rd turn after this card's activation. Destroy all cards of that declared type. So this deck is a very big control deck if you haven't caught onto the theme. It forces your opponent to play more strategically in the sense that you have ways to destroy high power monsters, low defense monsters, spells and traps, and with Grinning Virus, make it so they can't use their grave effects because of this card's effect for 3 turns. So it's very useful. This deck is not going to be in the meta, I don't think, but still a fun deck. Then we have, finally, 3 copies of Deck Devastation Virus, which sadly does not have the same effect as in the original Pyramid of Light movie. Tribute 1 dark monster with 2,000 or more attack. Look at your opponent's hand and all monsters they control, and all cards they draw until the end of the 3rd turn after this card's activation. Destroy all those monsters with 1,500 attack or less. So, with this deck, you have attack for 1,500 or more, defense 1,500 or less, attack 1,500 or less, spell and trap, and then a variety of effects. This deck is extremely good at controlling your opponent and controlling what they do. The last trap in this deck is Heavy Storm Duster, which is just a way to get rid of back row. Instead of this card, I would recommend a Harpy's Feather Duster. I think it'd be a better card in the deck. But that's it for the main deck. Let's dive into this extra deck real fast. So, in the extra deck, we have a single copy of Starving Venom, which is a super poly target. We have Predaplant, Drago Stapella, which is another super poly target. We have our Doom Virus Dragon. We have Firewall Xyz Dragon, just because. We have a copy of Raider's Knight, Arc Rebellion, and then Zeus. All cards that further your control. Specifically with Starving Venom and Doom Virus Dragon. Look at your opponent's hand, all monsters they control. So this has the same effect as the Crush card Virus, except it is the prolonged 3-turn activation like with the other Virus cards. We then have Topologic Bomber Dragon, 2 copies of Darkness Metal, the Dragon of Dark Steel. We have a copy of Boral Sword, Nightmare Griffin, Unicorn, Phoenix, and then we end with Borreload. So that is it for this deck. Again, I haven't been able to play this deck in person in a little while, just because it's been on the side waiting for updates. I finally got around to it once I got my Battle of Chaos packs. So I'm open to pick up another Alice and update this deck one more time before I take it into any kind of a tournament situation. But that is it for this deck. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and like and subscribe and drop a comment. And I will catch you guys in the next video.